Hello, my name is Ray Capote for the Misfits Mystique. Welcome. And cheers. So today we'll be discussing, we're still in December of 1959, and we're covering Ralph Roberts Mimosa. An excellent book. So Ralph Roberts was the masseur for Marilyn Monroe back in the late 50s and early 60s. And Mr. Roberts went out to LA. He was doing the movie Bells Are Ringing, and Marilyn was out there to do Let's Make Love with Yves Montand. And they had the opportunity to meet, and Roberts began giving her first massages. This was December of 1959. So one day, Marilyn, after a series of massages, Marilyn asked Ralph Roberts, "Hey Ralph, would you consider giving Arthur Miller, her husband, screenwriter and playwright Arthur Miller, would you consider giving him some massages? His neck is in a bind and he's having a lot of tension." If you recall, he was working on the preliminary screenwriting for the Misfits. And of course, Roberts said, "Yeah, sure, of course." And so Arthur Miller agreed that they would meet on a Saturday morning. So they hooked up on a Saturday morning, and right away Arthur Miller thanked Ralph Roberts for the attention he was giving his wife Marilyn Monroe, and that he was grateful for the massages and how she was improving physically, but even more importantly, the psychic bond that they seemed to have. We already talked about the ESP encounters that Roberts had with Marilyn on other episodes. So what Roberts described was that Miller actually took a lot of interest in Roberts, in his career, and how he became a masseur to begin with, because he felt that obviously masseur and acting were kind of two totally different things. So what Roberts told him, that, you know, he was in the war, he was in the service in the Army, and then when he got out, he decided to pursue his passion. He went to New York to pursue acting on Broadway. He got a few roles, small roles, and some plays, but he knew immediately that he would have to supplement his income. So he was still in the Army Reserve, and every summer he would be on active duty, and he would get paid for that. So in the summer of '48, he ended up going to the Pentagon, and he said he was just bored out of his mind. He must have had some sort of a desk job or something. And one day he said, I gotta just work out and do something. And he goes to, he described it, the bowels of the building, the Pentagon, and he discovered this gymnasium. And there at the gymnasium, he met a masseur, and he started talking to him, and he was getting massages from him. He was hitting the steam bath, and he asked the masseur a number of questions, how he got into his work. And immediately Roberts knew that that was going to be the way he was going to supplement his income. And so he asked the masseur, "So where did you get your classes?" And he recommended the Swedish Institute of Massage and Physiotherapy in New York. So that's what I wasn't sure about, where he actually took these classes, and it turned out it was New York. So when he went back to New York, he got a small role in Mad Woman of Shiloh. And during the evening, he'll be doing the show. During the daytime, he's taking the classes for Swedish massage. And during these times that he gave Arthur Miller the massages, he noticed how how thoughtful he was, how he asked a lot of questions of Roberts, and he seemed to talk a lot. Marilyn would talk sometimes during her sessions, but other times she'd be completely silent. But apparently Miller talked quite a bit, and he took a true interest in the career of Roberts and his personal life, which I thought was very, very telling of Arthur Miller. So the first thing he asked was how he got into massage. So Miller, as opposed to Marilyn Monroe, seemed to talk a lot during his massage sessions with Roberts. And on one of these sessions, he actually talked a little bit about his wife, Marilyn Monroe. He was fascinated by how these chance meetings, like for instance, how Roberts meets this masseur at the Pentagon, and that in turn got him into becoming a masseur and pursuing that as a career, and initially as supplemental income for his acting. But he ended up getting a lot more work as a masseur than he did in acting, and that was his breakthrough. He started meeting a lot of famous actors by giving them massages. And he says, yeah, it's just amazing how life is changed by these chance meetings. And he started talking about how when he first met Marilyn, and this was in the late 40s, I covered that in another episode. And when he first met Marilyn, that's Arthur Miller, in the late 40s, he said that he was struck by how intelligent she was, and then she would periodically send him a letter or call him and ask him about what books he would recommend to read. And so he felt that she had a really inquisitive mind, and then she would read these books, and then she would go over with him, the plots and what it meant. And he said she really is a thinker, and she retains the information very well that she reads in the books, and she has this true perspective. So in other words, she doesn't just breeze through it. She'll read it, and then she'll analyze it and see what it actually meant and the message that the author was trying to get across. And Miller, being an author himself, you can see how he was very attracted to that. And then he just went on saying that, so we met through this chance meeting, and then we ended up getting married years later. So he then asked Roberts during these massages, he took an interest how he became a masseur. And then he was very interested how he got into the Army, because it seemed like a total different career than it would be acting or even a masseur. And Roberts told him, it's a real long story, but hopefully up in Reno when they film The Misfits, remember Roberts got this small role as the ambulance driver. And they would begin filming in July of 1960. So Roberts, in one of the massages he gave Miller, he told him, yeah, I knew General Stilwell, and I worked closely with him. And then Miller, again, he didn't talk a lot about Marilyn Monroe, but one of the main things that Roberts took away on one of the massages is that Miller was very impressed by her need for improvement as an actress. So what he's trying to say here is Marilyn wasn't satisfied and just staying put. She obviously was a big movie star when they got married in 1956. But he really was impressed by the fact that she wanted to keep becoming better and try to do some more dramatic roles and be more respected as a serious actress, as opposed to a comedic actress or dancer slash singer. So my name is Ray Capote for the Misfits Mystique, and thank you for joining me. And as always, cheers.